Thanks so much for joining me for tonight's set of scary stories. Remember, we post longer videos 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We read 30 minutes or more of stories, then an hour or more of rain and nature sounds. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because we are always happy to get suggestions for new story ideas. If you enjoy this voice, please tap the like button and leave a comment letting me know what voice style you want to hear next. With that, let's get on to our night of terror and dreams. The Overlook Hotel, whispers in the dark. The wind howled like a banshee, each gust a skeletal finger scraping at the aging facade of the Overlook Hotel. Snow swirled in a deranged ballet, obscuring the world beyond the frosted window panes. Inside, the lobby was a study in unsettling grandeur. A crackling fire cast flickering shadows on the threadbare armchairs and chipped marble floor. Holly, my girlfriend, shivered beside me, clutching her coat tighter. "This place is creepy," she murmured, the words barely audible over the groaning of the ancient building. I couldn't agree more. The Overlook had a palpable roughness about it, a cold emptiness that seemed to seep into your bones. Our predicament was entirely the fault of the freak snowstorm that had materialized out of nowhere. We were on a weekend getaway to the mountains, a chance to escape the city's relentless grind. Now, stranded and with limited options, the Overlook was our only refuge. The receptionist, a woman with a perpetually pinched expression, barely glanced at us as we approached the counter. Her name tag read Agnes, but something about her vacant eyes and unnaturally pale skin sent shivers down my spine. "Room?" she rasped in a voice devoid of warmth. Holly, ever the optimist, tried to inject some cheer. "We got caught in the storm. Do you have any rooms available?" Agnes gave a curt nod. "One room. Double bed." Her lips stretched into a smile that never reached her eyes. "That'll be $80 up front." We exchanged a wary glance. $80 for a room in this dilapidated hotel seemed exorbitant, but with the storm raging outside, we had little choice. I handed over my credit card, the plastic feeling slick with unease in my hand. Agnes swiped the card with a flourish that seemed out of place in this desolate setting. "Room 237, she droned, tossing a dusty key at us. End of the hall. Our room was on the top floor, accessible only by a creaky elevator that groaned like a tortured soul with every ascent. The hallway was a labyrinth of peeling wallpaper and flickering sconces that cast dancing shadows on the walls. The air hung heavy with the scent of mildew and something else. Something metallic and faintly sweet, a smell that made my stomach churn. Room 237 was as unsettling as the rest of the hotel. The furniture was shrouded in dust sheets, and the air was thick with a sense of neglect. In the corner, a lone window offered a view of the snow-covered landscape, the swirling light a stark contrast to the oppressive darkness within. "Maybe we should ask for another room," Holly whispered, her voice barely a tremor. I shared her sentiment, but something held me back. It was more than just the off-putting atmosphere. There was a strange pull to this place, a sense of unseen eyes watching our every move. We decided to explore the hotel in the hopes of finding some semblance of normalcy. The downstairs bar was deserted, the only sound the rhythmic dripping of a leaky faucet. A lone bartender, a gaunt man with haunted eyes, barely acknowledged our presence. He poured us drinks without a word, a sickly sweet concoction that left a metallic aftertaste in my mouth. As we sipped our drinks, a strange conversation filtered in from a nearby booth. Two men, their faces obscured by the dim lighting, spoke in hushed tones. One spoke of the offering, the other of 2 more souls. Their words sent a jolt of fear through me. Offering, souls. The hairs on the back of my neck prickled. Holly noticed my unease. "What's wrong?" she asked, her voice laced with concern. I shook my head, unable to articulate the growing dread that coiled in my gut. But a seed of suspicion had been planted. There was something more sinister at play here, something far more unsettling than a simple snowstorm in a creepy hotel. The night stretched on, punctuated by unsettling creaks and groans from the ancient building. Sleep evaded us both. We lay awake, listening to the wind howl like a ravenous beast outside our window. In the pre-dawn hours, a chilling realization dawned on me. We weren't just trapped by the snowstorm. We were trapped in something far more sinister, a place where the line between reality and nightmare blurred, and the very fabric of our existence hung in the balance. The oppressive atmosphere of the Overlook continued to seep into our bones. The morning brought no relief from the incessant snowfall. The world outside remained a swirling white vortex, cutting us off from any hope of rescue. Trapped, we decided to delve deeper into the hotel, hoping to find answers to the unsettling whispers we'd overheard. The library, despite its dusty grandeur, offered a sense of solace. Worn leather armchairs and towering bookshelves lined the walls. Yet even here, the pervasive sense of wrongness lingered. As we scanned the shelves for any kind of local history, a book titled The Legacy of the Overlook caught my eye. Its leather cover was cold in my hand, the inscription, "For the Chosen Ones," sending a shiver down my spine. With trembling hands, I flipped through the brittle pages. It spoke of the hotel's macabre past, a history steeped in blood sacrifice and dark rituals. According to the book, the Overlook was built on a Native American burial ground, a place where ancient demons slumbered beneath the earth. A chilling passage sent my blood running cold. Every 50 years, the veil between worlds thins. A sacrifice of 5 souls will open the portal, freeing the manic demon and unleashing eternal darkness upon the world. 5 souls. My heart pounded in my chest. The conversation in the bar, the 2 more souls comment, it all made horrifying sense. We were trapped in a macabre ritual, unwitting pawns in a game far beyond our comprehension. Fear clawed at my throat, but a surge of determination replaced it. We couldn't be mere sheep led to the slaughter. We had to fight back, find a way to break the curse and escape. I shared the chilling discovery with Holly, her eyes mirroring my terror. But even in the face of this horror, her hand reached for mine. A silent promise of solidarity passed between us. We were in this together, and together we would find a way out. The library held another clue. Tucked away in a dusty corner, we found a hidden map of the hotel's labyrinthine layout. A circled section on the top floor caught my eye. Ritual chamber. It was a long shot, but it was our only lead. The climb to the top floor was fraught with tension. The hotel seemed to groan in protest at our intrusion, shadows twisting and reaching as we navigated the dimly lit corridors. Finally, we reached the marked section, a heavy oak door adorned with strange symbols. Holly's hand tightened in mine as I pushed against the door. It creaked open with a groan, revealing a dark, cavernous chamber. The air hung thick with the smell of incense and decay. In the center of the room, a blood-red pentagram was etched into the stone floor. A single hooded figure stood, chanting in a language I didn't recognize. As the figure turned, a gasp escaped Holly's lips. It was Agnes, the receptionist, her face contorted into a grotesque mask of devotion. Around her stood the other hotel staff, their eyes filled with a fanatical zeal. The chanting intensified, a low vibration resonating through the floorboards. Panic welled up inside me. We had stumbled upon the ritual in progress, and they needed only 2 more souls, ours, to complete it. Thinking fast, I grabbed a heavy candlestick from a nearby table. With a desperate cry, I hurled it at Agnes. It caught her squarely on the shoulder, sending her stumbling back and momentarily disrupting the chanting. Chaos erupted. The cultist staff turned towards us, their faces contorted with rage. Holly grabbed a fire poker from beside the fireplace, her eyes blazing with defiance. This was our last stand. The ensuing fight was a blur of adrenaline and fear. We fought like cornered animals, utilizing whatever came to hand, but against the sheer number of cultists, we were hopelessly outnumbered. Just as I felt a blow land on my head, sending stars exploding across my vision, a new sound pierced the air. A loud clanging echoed from the hallway, followed by a series of furious shouts. Through the doorway burst a team of snowmobilers, alerted by our earlier frantic attempts to call for help. The sight of the rescuers sent a jolt of relief through me. The fight stopped abruptly as the cultists, their plans foiled, scattered like frightened cockroaches. The paramedics arrived shortly after, tending to our wounds and piecing together the unsettling story of the ritual. The Overlook Hotel was shut down, and a thorough investigation revealed its dark history. Leaving the hotel was like escaping a nightmare. The sunlight, once an unwelcome glare, now felt like a warm embrace. Holly and I leaned on each other, the ordeal etched on our faces. We were battered, bruised, but alive. We held on to each other tightly, the shared trauma forging a bond stronger than any metal. The news of the Overlook's dark secrets spread like wildfire. The Mantok incident, as it was dubbed, became a local legend, a chilling reminder of the evil that can lurk beneath the surface of seemingly ordinary places. We tried to move on, to put the nightmare behind us. But the memories lingered like phantoms at the edges of our lives. The unsettling whispers, the chilling atmosphere of the Overlook, the faces of the cultists. They all threatened to resurface at the slightest provocation. One particularly bad night, after a vivid dream of the ritual chamber, I woke up in a cold sweat. Holly, sensing my distress, sat up beside me. The conversation flowed like a dam breaking. We talked through our fears, shared the lingering anxieties that had gnawed at us. As we talked, a realization dawned on me. We hadn't just escaped the Overlook. We'd disrupted a ritual, prevented a gateway to hell from opening. We weren't just victims. We were inadvertent heroes. The realization brought a sense of bittersweet triumph. We were forever marked by the experience. But we had faced the darkness and emerged on the other side. Holly, with her unwavering strength, had been my rock throughout the ordeal. Fueled by this newfound perspective, we decided to delve deeper into the Mantok myth. We devoured books on Native American lore, reaching out to local historians and anthropologists. Bit by bit, we began to piece together the bigger picture. Mantok, we learned, wasn't just a demon. It was a malevolent entity, a force that fed on fear and despair. The Overlook ritual was just one of many attempts throughout history to usher in its reign. As we learned more, a chilling truth emerged. The Overlook might have been closed, but Mantok's influence wasn't confined to one hotel. There were whispers of similar rituals, hidden societies, all working towards the same goal: to usher in an era of darkness. Fear threatened to consume us again, but this time it was laced with a steely resolve. We had tasted the consequences of inaction. We couldn't turn a blind eye. Not anymore. Holly, ever the pragmatist, grounded my fears. We can't fight a demon army, she said, but we can be a thorn in their side. We can expose their secrets, warn others. We started small, sharing our story with trusted friends and online communities dedicated to the paranormal. To our surprise, we weren't alone. Others, too, had encountered the fringes of this dark network, had stumbled upon unsettling rituals and near sacrifices. Slowly, a network began to form, a ragtag group of survivors, researchers, and believers united by a common purpose: to keep the darkness at bay. We weren't superheroes, but we were a resistance, a flickering flame against the encroaching shadows. Our lives took on a new purpose. We traveled, investigating rumors, uncovering hidden societies, and sharing our findings with the network. It was a dangerous life, a constant dance with the unseen. But every time we disrupted a ritual or exposed a cult, the weight on our shoulders lessened a little. The legacy of the Overlook Hotel became more than just a personal nightmare. It was our baptism by fire, the event that propelled us onto a path we never anticipated. We didn't seek this role, but we embraced it, determined to fight the darkness. Two survivors with a story to tell and a mission to fulfill. Years passed, a blur of adrenaline-fueled investigations and close calls. We'd become seasoned veterans in the war against shadows, our network expanding across the globe. But the scars of the Overlook remained, a constant reminder of the true cost of this fight. One seemingly ordinary Tuesday, a cryptic email landed in my inbox. The sender, a name I didn't recognize. Crow, it read, sent a single sentence. They're coming back to the Overlook. A cold dread settled in my stomach. The Overlook. It stood abandoned, a silent monument to the darkness it once housed. But according to Crow's message, it was no longer forgotten. We contacted the network. A flurry of panicked messages and strategizing calls. The idea of the Overlook reopening sent shivers down everyone's spine. It was more than just a place. It was a symbol, a potential gateway that could be exploited once again. We couldn't let them succeed, but going back meant facing the source of our deepest fears. It was a prospect that terrified Holly, and it wasn't lost on me. "We don't have to do this," I said, holding her hand. "We've done enough." Holly, her eyes filled with a steely resolve, shook her head. "We can't let them win, Xander. Not after everything." Her words mirrored my own thoughts. We owed it to ourselves, to the network, and to the memory of those who weren't as lucky as us at the Overlook. We packed our bags, the familiar weight of equipment heavier than usual. This time, though, we weren't just going in blind. Crow, whoever they were, had included detailed blueprints of the hotel, including a hidden passage leading directly to the ritual chamber. The journey back to the Overlook was shrouded in an eerie silence. The once majestic hotel now stood desolate, a skeletal frame against the bleak winter landscape. As we approached, a sense of foreboding hung heavy in the air. We infiltrated the building through the hidden entrance, the stale air thick with dust and decay. The familiar creaks and groans of the neglected building sounded louder than ever in the oppressive silence. Following the map, we navigated through the labyrinthine corridors, each turn a potential ambush. Finally, we reached the ritual chamber. The scene that greeted us was a chilling echo of the past. The chamber was bathed in a sickly green light emanating from torches, and figures in hooded robes chanted in an unknown tongue. A single difference sent a jolt through me. The pentagram was already glowing with an ominous red light. We were too late. The ritual had begun. Adrenaline flooded my system, fear giving way to a desperate resolve. We couldn't stop the ritual entirely, but we could buy some time, disrupt the energy flow, and hopefully alert the network. Bursting into the chamber, we yelled a battle cry, a desperate attempt to distract the cultists. The chanting faltered, momentarily disrupted by our sudden appearance. The fight was a chaotic blur of punches, kicks, and thrown objects. Holly, ever resourceful, managed to knock over a brazier, sending sparks flying and momentarily disrupting the ritual circle. The cultists reacted with fury, their eyes burning with fanatic zeal. But their focus was broken, the ritual faltering on the brink of completion. Just as I managed to overpower a particularly aggressive cultist, a piercing alarm echoed through the chamber. Startled glances were exchanged as a faint red glow pulsed from everyone's phones, a notification from the network. It was a prearranged signal, a call to action. From the shadows emerged other members of the network, individuals we'd only known through online aliases, now united in this fight. The tide turned, the cultists overwhelmed by the sheer number of attackers. In the ensuing chaos, the red glow in the pentagram flickered and died. The air crackled with a sense of release, the oppressive atmosphere lifting. We had done it. We'd stopped them, at least for now. The authorities, alerted by the network's anonymous tip, arrived shortly after. We remained in the shadows, our identities a secret, a silent vigil against the encroaching darkness. As we watched the cultists being apprehended, a wave of exhaustion washed over me. It had been a close call, but we had survived. Again, leaving the Overlook behind, a sense of bittersweet closure settled in. The hotel would likely remain sealed, a chilling reminder of the darkness it held. But we knew the fight wasn't over. We were forever bound to this hidden war, a band of warriors forged in the fires of a terrifying experience. And if the darkness threatened to seep through the cracks, we would be there, a flickering flame against the encroaching shadows. The network had grown stronger, more vigilant. Crow remained an enigma, a silent benefactor who provided crucial intel. We trained harder, honed our skills, prepared for the next battle. Years passed, filled with quiet normalcy, punctuated by bursts of adrenaline-fueled action. We had learned to live with the weight of our knowledge, the constant awareness of the unseen forces lurking beneath the surface. We married, built a life together, a life filled with love, but always tinged with the memory of the Overlook and the fight we had become a part of. Then one rainy Thursday, a familiar email address pinged on my phone. Crow. This time the message was short and chilling. "They're not after a place, they're after you." My blood ran cold. It wasn't just about rituals anymore. We were the targets, the thorn in their side they desperately wanted to remove. Fear threatened to paralyze me, but Holly, ever pragmatic, gripped my hand. "We've been through worse," she said, her voice firm, despite the tremor running through it. "We'll face this together like always." We contacted the network, the urgency in our voices palpable. Crow, for the first time, offered to meet, a location specified in a remote cabin nestled deep in the mountains. It was a gamble, but we had no choice. We needed answers, needed to understand why they were targeting us specifically. The journey was fraught with tension. Every rustle of leaves, every flicker of movement sent a jolt through me. Reaching the cabin, a sense of unease settled in my gut. It was too quiet, too isolated. We hesitated before knocking. Finally, Holly stepped forward, her knuckles rapping against the weathered wood. The door creaked open, revealing a figure shrouded in shadows. "Crow?" I called out, my voice tight. The figure stepped forward, the dim light revealing a weathered face with piercing blue eyes. A shock of recognition jolted me. It was Agnes, the Overlook receptionist, older but still recognizable. "Not exactly," she rasped, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. "But close. Consider me a survivor, too." My mind reeled. Agnes, a survivor? An ally? Agnes ushered us inside, explaining her story. She wasn't a true believer, but trapped in the Overlook's thrall. After the incident, she'd escaped, carrying with her fragments of Mantock's lore and a deep-seated fear. "They don't just want to open a portal," she revealed, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Mantock wants a champion, a vessel to walk the earth and unleash his darkness. You, Xander, are that champion." My heart pounded against my ribs. Me? A champion of darkness? It was ludicrous and terrifying at the same time. Agnes explained how my connection with the Overlook, my exposure to Mantock's influence, had unknowingly marked me. "They've been manipulating your dreams, whispering promises of power," she continued. "You need to fight them, Xander, before it's too late." The revelation ignited a fire in my gut. This wasn't just about stopping a ritual or protecting others. This was a fight for my own soul. We spent the next few days at the cabin, Agnes training me to resist Mantock's influence. We learned meditation techniques, practiced shielding myself from the whispers in my dreams. It was a daunting task, but with Holly's unwavering support and Agnes's guidance, a flicker of hope ignited within me. The network, alerted by Agnes's message, planned a distraction. A diversionary attack on a suspected cult hideout would buy us time. We knew it wouldn't be easy, and the odds were stacked against us. This was our last stand, a desperate fight for survival. As we infiltrated the enemy's lair, the weight of the world seemed to press down on me. Fear threatened to consume me, but I channeled Agnes's teachings, focusing my mind, pushing back the darkness. The battle raged, the network fighting with a ferociousness born out of desperation. But throughout the chaos, I felt Mantock's presence growing stronger, a malevolent force, whispering promises of power in the back of my mind. Just when I thought I might succumb, Holly's voice cut through the mental fog. "You can do this, Xander," she shouted, her voice unwavering. Her faith in me, the love in her eyes, anchored me in the present. With renewed resolve, I pushed back against Mantock's influence, banishing his whispers to the furthest corners of my mind. Focusing on the fight at hand, I fought alongside Holly, utilizing the skills we'd honed over the years. We were a whirlwind of focused fury, protecting each other and disrupting the cultists' plans. The battle was grueling, but fueled by a sense of purpose and the knowledge that this was a fight for our very souls. As the network managed to overpower the cultists, their leader, cloaked in a dark robe, turned towards me, a malevolent grin twisting his features. "You cannot escape your destiny," he hissed, his voice dripping with a power that sent shivers down my spine. Before I could react, the room pulsed with an unnatural energy. A wave of darkness washed over me, pulling at my defenses, tempting me with promises of ultimate power. Images of myself, strong and terrifying, flashed across my mind. But then, amidst the darkness, I saw Holly. Her face, etched with worry and determination, was a beacon of light in the encroaching shadows. Her unwavering belief in me, the love that shone in her eyes, became my anchor. With a roar that startled even myself, I lashed out at the darkness, pushing it back with all my might. The robed figure faltered, surprised by my resistance. Agnes's training echoed in my mind. Focus, resist, visualize a shield. Building upon this newfound strength, I visualized a wall of pure light, a barrier against Mantock's influence. Slowly, painstakingly, the darkness receded, pushed back by my will. The robed figure shrieked, a sound of pure rage and frustration. No. Suddenly, a deafening alarm echoed through the building, signaling the arrival of the authorities. The cultists, their ritual disrupted, scattered like panicked roaches. The robed figure, his eyes filled with hatred, vanished in a swirl of dark mist. The fight was over, but the victory felt bittersweet. We had stopped Mantock, at least for now, but the memory of his presence lingered, a constant reminder of the threat we faced. In the aftermath, with the police securing the scene, I held Holly close, her warmth a balm against the lingering chill. We had faced our destiny, and through sheer force of will and our love for each other, we had emerged victorious. But the war was far from over. We knew Mantock wouldn't rest. He would continue to search for a vessel, and we would remain his prime target. But this time, we were prepared. We left the scene with the network, a silent brotherhood of warriors bound by a shared experience. We returned to our life, forever changed, but also forever vigilant. We trained harder, honed our mental defenses, and prepared for the inevitable return of the darkness. The Overlook Hotel remained a chilling reminder, but it was no longer just a symbol of fear. It was a testament to our strength, a place where we had stared into the abyss and refused to be consumed. And as long as we stood together, as long as love fueled our resolve, we knew we could face any darkness, no matter how potent, no matter how ancient. The shadows might always lurk at the periphery, but the light within us, the light of love and unwavering determination, would never be extinguished. The Drakelock's Hollow. The Drakelock Hotel loomed on the precipice of the desolate highway, a jagged silhouette against the bruised twilight sky. Its once grand facade was now a canvas of peeling paint and cracked stone, the vacant windows like empty eye sockets staring sightlessly out at the encroaching dusk. A shiver, unrelated to the cool mountain air, danced its way down my spine. Anne, my ever-pragmatic partner in paranormal exploration, bumped into me. "Feeling the chills already?" she asked, a playful glint in her hazel eyes. "Just admiring the architecture," I stammered, forcing a smile that felt brittle on my lips. The Drakelock was a local legend, whispered in hushed tones around flickering campfires and in dimly lit bars. Stories spoke of a once luxurious hotel that had abruptly fallen silent decades ago. Guests, staff, everyone who dared to cross its threshold simply vanished. Some claimed they'd been driven mad by unseen forces, wandering out into the desolate landscape to forever be lost. Others, like Anne, clung to a wilder theory. The Drakelock housed a time warp, a soul-sucking vortex that deposited its victims in some nightmarish alternate reality. We scoffed at the supernatural aspects, of course, but the sheer volume of disappearances surrounding the Drakelock remained an unsettling mystery. We weren't there to hunt ghosts. We were there to see if anyone still remained, trapped within the decaying walls. The rusty iron gates groaned in protest as we pushed them open, the rusted hinges screaming a silent welcome. Inside, time had spun a thick web of dust and decay. Moth-eaten velvet drapes hung limply from dusty windows, and cobwebs clung to the tarnished chandeliers that once glittered overhead. The air hung heavy with the smell of damp earth and something else, a metallic tang that made my stomach churn. Anne slung her backpack over her shoulder, the familiar weight of our EMF readers and EVP recorders reassuring. "Ready?" she asked, a hint of nervous energy in her voice. I nodded, forcing a confidence I didn't entirely feel. The Drakelock, despite our initial bravado, sent shivers down my spine. There was an undeniable sense of wrongness here, a palpable coldness that seemed to seep under my skin. We started our investigation on the ground floor, the creaking floorboards groaning under our weight. The lobby, once a place of grand opulence, was now a graveyard of faded elegance. A skeletal chaise longue sat abandoned by a dusty fireplace, and a grand piano stood in the corner, its keys yellowed and silent. Every room we entered was a scene of frozen time. Clothes hung limply on dusty hangers in closets. Half-eaten meals sat petrified on chipped plates in the dining room. It was as if the hotel had been evacuated in a single, panicked instant. As the day wore on, a strange restlessness settled over me. We hadn't found any evidence of the paranormal, nothing to explain the disappearances. But the silence, broken only by the creaks and groans of the building, was suffocating. By nightfall, we had explored the entire ground floor and half the second story. Exhausted and frustrated, we huddled in a dusty corner of a deserted ballroom. The only light came from the flashlights dangling from our belts, casting dancing shadows on the decaying walls. "Anything?" Anne whispered, her voice barely a tremor in the oppressive silence. I shook my head, disappointment gnawing at me. "Nothing but dust and echoes," I muttered, feeling a prickle of unease crawl up my neck. A sudden gust of wind, seemingly out of nowhere, extinguished our flashlights. We plunged into darkness, the only sound our own ragged breaths. "Anne," I called out, my voice thick with panic. "Here," she answered from somewhere nearby. Relief washed over me momentarily, then a chilling realization hit me. The voice didn't sound quite like Anne's. It was higher, thinner, infused with a cold, eerie detachment. "Anne, where are you?" I called again, my voice trembling. The wind picked up again, whispering disembodied words that sent chills down my spine. Lost. Forever lost. Panic surged through me, hot and suffocating. The disembodied voice echoed through the ballroom, bouncing off the dusty walls. "Anne? Anne," I yelled, desperation clawing at my throat. Silence. No reply, only the mocking whisper of the wind. I stumbled blindly through the darkness, my hand outstretched, searching for anything familiar. The ballroom seemed to stretch on forever, the floorboards groaning ominously beneath my weight. Just when I thought I might succumb to the suffocating darkness, a faint light flickered in the distance. A sliver of hope, fragile yet persistent, sparked to life in my chest. I stumbled towards it, my heart pounding, a frantic rhythm against my ribs. The light emanated from a doorway at the far end of the ballroom. It remained ajar, spilling a weak, golden glow into the surrounding darkness. Pushing through the doorway, I found myself in a dimly lit hallway. The source of the light, a single flickering bulb hanging precariously from the ceiling. The air here felt different, colder, somehow heavier. Goosebumps erupted on my skin, and a deep unease settled in my stomach. The hallway was lined with identical doors, each one shut tight. Suddenly a voice, cold and raspy, echoed down the corridor. "Lost souls, forever trapped." My grip tightened on the flashlight, the beam cutting through the gloom. "Anne," I called out, my voice echoing off the walls. "Is that you?" The voice chuckled, a hollow, chilling sound that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Foolish child, there is no escape." Terror coiled in my gut. This wasn't Anne. This was something else, something far more sinister. A loud bang from one of the doors at the end of the hallway made me jump. I strained my ears, trying to make sense of the sound. A muffled thump followed by frantic scratching. Hope, fragile and flickering, ignited within me. Maybe it wasn't Anne, but there was someone else trapped here. Taking a deep breath, I crept towards the source of the noise. The doorknob, cold metal against my clammy palm, felt impossibly heavy. With a final, desperate heave, I managed to turn it. The rusty hinges groaned in protest as the door creaked open a sliver. A wave of stale air, thick with the smell of decay, assaulted me. Hesitantly, I pushed the door further open, the beam of my flashlight revealing a small, dusty room. In the center, huddled beneath a single, grimy window, sat a figure. A woman, her clothes tattered and hanging loosely on her emaciated frame, looked up at me with wild, haunted eyes. Her voice, barely a whisper, rasped, "Help, please." Relief flooded through me, momentarily washing away the fear. "Don't worry," I assured her, stepping into the room. "We'll get you out of here." But as I moved closer, I noticed something chilling. The woman's reflection in the dusty window wasn't there. A cold dread crawled up my spine. I turned back to her, my voice trembling. Who are you? The woman's smile was a grotesque parody of human kindness. Just another lost soul, she rasped, her eyes glinting with an unearthly light. And now, you'll join us. Before I could react, a gust of icy wind swept through the room, extinguishing the flashlight. The woman lunged, her cold, skeletal hands reaching for my throat. I screamed, scrambling backwards, trying to break free. But the icy grip tightened, and a chilling voice whispered in my ear, "Welcome to the Drakelock's Hollow." The world spun around me, darkness claiming my vision. The woman's chilling laughter echoed in my ears, the last sound I heard before oblivion swallowed me whole. The world dissolved into a swirling vortex of darkness and cold. When my senses returned, I was no longer in the dusty hotel room. Dim, flickering torches cast an orange glow on damp stone walls. The air was thick with the smell of mildew and something metallic, a cloying tang that made my stomach churn. I sat slumped against a rough-hewn wooden chest, my head throbbing. My flashlight lay useless on the floor, its batteries likely drained from the frantic searching in the hotel. Panic surged through me again, hot and cold at the same time. "Anne," I rasped, my throat parched. "Where are you?" Only silence answered. The chamber I found myself in seemed small and cramped, barely furnished with the dusty chest and a single flickering torch affixed to the wall. Desperation clawed at me. I remembered the woman, her chilling touch, the promise of being another lost soul. But this wasn't a hotel room anymore. This was something different, something far more terrifying. Suddenly, a low, guttural growl echoed through the chamber, vibrating against the stone walls. It was followed by a heavy thud, shaking the floor beneath me. Adrenaline jolted through my system, snapping me out of my momentary paralysis. Scrambling to my feet, I stumbled towards the flickering torch on the wall, its meager flame offering scant comfort. As I held it closer, squinting through the darkness, I spotted a narrow archway at the back of the chamber. It was barely visible, shrouded in shadow. Hope, a flicker in the oppressive darkness, fueled my decision. This might be an escape, or it could be deeper into the unknown. But sitting here, trapped, was a death sentence. Taking a deep breath, I gripped the torch tighter and stepped towards the archway. It led into a narrow passage, the ceiling barely high enough for me to stand upright. The air grew cooler, the metallic tang stronger. The passage twisted and turned, deeper into the bowels of the earth. With each step, the flickering torchlight revealed damp, moss-covered walls, etched with strange symbols. They pulsed with a faint, eerie glow, casting grotesque shadows that danced at the edge of my vision. My mind raced, trying to decipher the meaning of the symbols, of this terrifying place. Could this be the source of the time warp? Were there others trapped here, like the woman in the hotel room? Just when I thought I couldn't take another step, the passage opened into a vast cavern. The sight that greeted me froze the blood in my veins. Skeletal figures, shrouded in tattered clothing, shuffled aimlessly across the cavern floor. Their eyes, hollow and vacant, stared sightlessly ahead. They were the missing guests, the staff, all trapped in a state of perpetual torment. And at the center of the cavern, bathed in an unnatural, swirling green light, stood the Drakelock Hotel. It was a miniature version of the one I'd entered, but this one appeared whole, bustling with spectral guests. A blood-curdling scream pierced the silence. One of the skeletal figures, its eyes momentarily flaring with a flicker of life, lunged for me. I stumbled back, tripping over an unseen protrusion on the cavern floor. The torch clattered to the ground, plunging me into darkness. Just as the skeletal figure reached for me, a hand clamped over my mouth. A familiar voice, rough with fear, whispered in my ear, "Ethan, it's me, Anne." Relief washed over me in a tidal wave. "Anne, thank God, where have you been?" I whispered back, my voice raspy from disuse. She helped me to my feet, her grip surprisingly strong. "Long story," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "But we need to get out of here." The skeletal figure, momentarily thwarted, let out a frustrated shriek and continued its aimless shamble. Others, drawn by the noise, began to moan and shuffle towards us. "There's a tunnel," Anne said. gesturing towards a dark crevice barely visible at the edge of the cavern. "I found it while looking for you." We didn't need any further encouragement. Without a word, we sprinted towards the tunnel, the desperate moans of the trapped souls echoing behind us. The tunnel was narrow and damp, squeezing the air from our lungs. We crawled on our stomachs, the rough rock scraping against our skin. Time seemed to lose all meaning as we navigated the oppressive darkness. Just when I thought I couldn't take another inch, the tunnel opened up into a small chamber. A single thick rope coiled on the floor promised escape. "A mine shaft," Anne said, her voice trembling slightly. "It's our only way out." Without hesitation, we tied one end of the rope around a sturdy-looking rock and the other around ourselves. I looked down the dark shaft, the abyss swallowing any light that reached the opening. "Ready?" Anne asked, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and determination. I took a deep breath, the memory of the cavern still fresh in my mind. "Let's go." The climb was as terrifying as the tunnel. The rope was rough against my hands, and the darkness below seemed bottomless. But the thought of those trapped souls and the chilling whispers of the Drakelock spurred us on. Finally, my hands grasped solid ground again. We scrambled onto a rocky ledge, panting for breath. We were outside, thankfully, under a blanket of stars glittering in the inky black sky. We collapsed on the dusty ground, exhausted and shaken. Relief washed over me like a warm wave, chasing away the cold fear that had gripped me for what felt like an eternity. "We made it," I whispered, staring at the endless expanse of the night sky. Anne reached out and squeezed my hand. "Barely," she said, her voice hoarse. "But we made it." We sat in silence for a while, the only sound our ragged breaths, as the sun began to peek over the horizon, painting the sky with streaks of pink and orange. A sense of purpose solidified within me. Those trapped souls, and all the others who had vanished before them, they needed help. We may not have found a time warp, but we had found something far more terrifying. We didn't know how to stop it, but we were determined to find a way. The Drakelock Hotel had claimed its victims, but it wouldn't claim any more. Not if we had anything to say about it. As the first rays of sunlight bathed the landscape in a golden glow, we rose to our feet. We were battered and bruised, but our resolve was stronger than ever. We would find a way to dismantle the Drakelock's hold, to break the curse that trapped so many lost souls. And we would start by sharing our story, by making sure the world knew what lurked beneath the crumbling facade of the infamous Drakelock Hotel. Weeks turned into months, and our story, fueled by interviews and grainy cell phone footage of the Drakelock's decaying exterior, exploded across the internet. We became reluctant celebrities, thrust into the spotlight of the paranormal world. While skeptics scoffed and conspiracy theorists spun elaborate tales, something shifted. The story resonated with families who'd lost loved ones to the Drakelock. They reached out to us, desperate for answers, for closure. We formed a small yet determined group, survivors, researchers, and even a retired physics professor with a wild theory about interdimensional portals. Professor Davies, a wiry man with a twinkle in his eye and an impressive collection of pocket protectors, believed the Drakelock wasn't just a physical location. It was a nexus point, a tear in the fabric of reality caused by some unknown event. "Imagine," he'd say, his voice raspy with excitement, "a doorway between our world and another, a place where time itself becomes malleable." His theory, while far-fetched, gave us a framework to work with. We spent countless hours delving into historical records, searching for any mention of the Drakelock's origins. We found a chilling account from a local historian, detailing a ritual performed by a renegade group, a desperate attempt to achieve immortality through a forbidden connection between realms. The ritual, a macabre blend of alchemy and forgotten symbols, closely mirrored the grotesque carvings we'd seen in the cavern. It was a starting point, a glimmer of hope. Our investigation led us back to the desolate highway, a nervous knot twisting in my stomach as we approached the Drakelock. It loomed even larger under the cold light of the full moon. casting a long, ominous shadow across the landscape. This time we were prepared. We had EMF readers, EVP recorders, and Professor Davies's prototype signal disruptor, a contraption that looked like a jury-rigged toaster and hummed with an unsettling energy. The familiar creak of the iron gates echoed in the stillness. We moved cautiously, the eerie silence broken only by the frantic chirping of a cricket orchestra. Inside, the air hung thick with dust and a sense of impending danger. As we delved deeper, the readings on our EMF readers went haywire. Voices, distorted and unrecognizable, filled the EVP recordings. It was a cacophony of despair and anger, the echoes of tormented souls trapped in the Drakelock's hell. Suddenly, the air shimmered, and a vortex of swirling green light materialized before us. The miniature Drakelock, the hotel at the heart of the torment. A figure materialized within it, its form shifting and flickering, its eyes glowing with an eerie malice. "You cannot interfere," the raspy voice boomed, a mixture of whispers emanating from the swirling light. Professor Davies, his face pale but determined, switched on his signal disruptor. The room filled with a high-pitched whine as the device hummed to life. The swirling green light flickered violently, the figure within screeching in rage. The effect was immediate. The cavern walls shuddered, and the floorboards groaned beneath our feet. Dust rained down from the decaying ceiling, as the Drakelock seemed to fight against its tethering to this plane. "It's working," Anne shouted above the din. The light pulsed once more, then dimmed completely. The figure within vanished, replaced by a thick plume of black smoke that dissipated with a final chilling groan. Silence. An oppressive, heavy silence that felt deafening after the previous pandemonium. We stood there panting, waiting for something to happen. Slowly, a faint moan drifted from the darkness ahead, then another, and another. Cautiously, we ventured deeper into the cavern. There, huddled together, were the skeletal figures, their vacant eyes regaining a spark of life. They were weak, disoriented, but alive. The rescue was a long and emotional process, each freed soul a bittersweet victory. We knew the trauma they'd endured would stay with them forever, but they were free. The Drakelock remained, a silent sentinel on the desolate highway. The portal was closed, but the scars remained, on the landscape and in the hearts of those touched by its darkness. Our story, while a cautionary tale, also became a symbol of hope. It was a testament to the power of perseverance, of the human spirit's will to fight against the darkness, even when faced with the impossible.